think, fourth or fifth day of your course, and many of you must be aware about what is gender sensitization. Basically, gender sensitization refers to the modification of behavior. That is by raising some awareness of the gender equality. Or in other words, we can say that the main concern of the gender sensitization is the gender equality. So gender sensitizing, that is about changing behavior and instilling some empathy into the views that we hold about our own and for the other genders. जहाँ तक लैंगिक संवेदनशीलता की बात है, यानी कि हर लिंग, चाहे वो पुरुष हो या महिला हो, और अब हमारे समाज में कानूनी रूप से एक और जेंडर, जिसको हम ट्रांसजेंडर कहते हैं, थर्ड जेंडर की तरीके से जो मान्यता प्राप्त हुई है. So the basic point here is that this gender sensitization, जो एक लैंगिक संवेदनशीलता की बात करता है, वो एक व्यक्ति का दूसरे लिंग से उसके प्रति सम्मान का भाव रखे, किसी भी तरीके का उसमें लिंग भेद ना हो, इस सब चीज को दूर करके एक दूसरे के प्रति सम्मान का भाव पैदा हो, इसी को एक तरीके से कहा जाता है जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन. So this gender sensitization is something about making people aware of the needs to bring about change in quanta, in our mindset, which sees that the men as the breadwinner and the women as the housekeeper. परंपरागत रूप से अगर देखा जाए तो समाज में महिलाओं को कमजोर वर्ग के रूप में देखा जाता रहा है. तो लिंग संवेदीकरण एक ऐसा कह सकते हैं आंदोलन है, जिसके माध्यम से जो हमारी रूढ़िवादी सोच है, जो पारंपरिक सोच है, उन सोच वाले लोगों को, जो निर्णय लेने में महिलाओं को और पुरुषों को समान भागीदारी नहीं देते हैं, उसको सुनिश्चित करने के लिए, उसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए ये संवेदीकरण प्रोग्राम शुरू किए गए हैं, जिसमें हम जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन के द्वारा if there is any discrimination, if there is any inequality, then the mindset and all these the thoughts which are very, very customary thoughts, which are usages which are prevalent, उनको किसी भी तरीके से उसके माध्यम से, उस सोच वाले माध्यम के लोगों को ये सुनिश्चित कराना कि महिलाएं भी पुरुषों के समान अपना पार्टिसिपेट करने में, अपने हिस्से का कंट्रीब्यूशन देने में सक्षम है. दिस इज समथिंग लाइक जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन. समान रूप से सुविधा प्रदान करने के लिए उनको सुनिश्चित कराया जाए, जो संसाधन हैं, जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, वो समान रूप से पहुंचे, उस पर उनका कंट्रोल बराबर रूप से हो. विकास, जो डेवलपमेंट है, उसके लिए सभी को समान अवसर प्राप्त हो, रोजगार के लिए समान अवसर प्राप्त हो. दे मस्ट गेट द अपॉर्चुनिटी, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी in employment, equal opportunity in education, equal opportunity in other works. This is what is the main concern of the gender sensitization. So gender sensitivity helps to generate respect for the individuals regardless of the sexes. Now, when I'm using two words, the gender and the sex, so it is important to know as to what is sex and what is gender. Sex basically indicates the biological characteristics of the man and women. People are born as male or female. Gender indicates the characteristics or the positions or the roles of men and women in the social relationship. So sex refers to the biological and physiological characteristics that define men and women, and gender refers to the socially constructed roles, socially constructed behaviors and activities, and also the attributes that a given society considers appropriate for men and women. Or to put in a very simple words, that male and female are sex categories, while masculine and feminine are the gender categories. So gender sensitivity helps to generate the respect for individual regardless of sex. जेंडर का प्रश्न कहना चाहिए कि मात्र स्त्री पुरुष का नहीं, बल्कि जैसा मैंने कहा कि ट्रांसजेंडर भी इसमें है, तो ट्रांसजेंडर का भी ये है। और जो जेंडर भेद है वो सांस्कृतिक है, सोशल है, कल्चरल है, ये कोई प्राकृतिक नहीं है, नेचुरल नहीं है। दिस इज नॉट बायोलॉजिकल। So because this has been developed in the society as a culture, so there should not be any discrimination, and for that sensitization is required. So gender sensitivity is not about pitting women against men, as in one of the work of the UNICEF, when I was going through that, I've seen that they say that gender sensitivity is something about pitting women against men. No, it's not like that. On the contrary, we see that education that is gender sensitive, that benefits the members of both the sexes. So gender awareness requires not only intellectual efforts but also sensitivity and open mindedness. दिमाग खुला रहेगा तो सब एक समान दिखाई देंगे और हर कोई समाज की उन्नति में, उसके विकास में समान रूप से कार्य कर सकता है। इस तरीके की अगर एक अवेयरनेस, इस तरीके की एक जागरूकता लाना, दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, दैट इज सेंसिटिविटी, दैट इज सेंसिटाइजेशन, and it opens up the widest possible range of life options for both men and women. So we can say that gender sensitization is raising sensitization of gender equality concern. Equality is the main focus here. And it is an idea to modify the behavior by raising awareness of the gender equality. Gender sensitization is something like a process of changing the stereotype concept. As I told you, that gender that comes from the social and cultural aspect in the society. So there exists certain perceptions, certain concepts which are said to be certain stereotype roles which have been given for women, which have been given to men. So this sensitization is to come out and to change that stereotype concepts and perception, and it helps them to determine which assumptions in matter of gender are valid and which are stereotype generalizations. To come out that, it is very important. अगर हम देखते हैं कि स्टीरियोटाइप परसेप्शन के लिए जेंडर के मैटर में मेंस के अपने परसेप्शन है, वुमेन्स के अपने परसेप्शन है फॉर जेंडर, फॉर वुमेन इटसेल्फ। अगर हम देखते हैं तो मेन का परसेप्शन है कि जो वुमेन्स हैं दे आर सूटेड ओनली फॉर द फेमिनिन फंक्शंस, जो औरतों के लिए काम है वो उन्हीं के लिए सूट करते हैं, व्हाइल वुमेन परसेप्शन इज दैट दे कैन परफॉर्म ऑल द फंक्शंस इक्वली। इसी तरीके से मेन का परसेप्शन होता है कि वेमेन का जो काम के लिए है उसको सेम पे जरूरी नहीं है, दे कैन वर्क ऑन द लेस पे ऑल्सो, बट women's perception is that because they are doing the equal work so they should be paid equally. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जो एक मेन का अपना परसेप्शन है वो ये है कि women are not career oriented, their minds are not career oriented, they are not enthusiastic towards their work, while women's perception is that they are committed towards their work, they take the work as a challenge, they complete their work, they perform their duties properly. इसी तरीके से एक मेन परसेप्शन है that the women cannot participate in the police job, they cannot participate in the military or paramilitary forces, they cannot participate in the sports. तो जो काम पुरुषों के लिए है, ये कहा गया है एक समाज में, वो काम महिलाएं नहीं कर सकती. But the perception of the women is that they can handle everything. They can do as tough work as the men can. Then regarding discrimination and inequality in gender, मैन का जो परसेप्शन है वो कहते हैं कि किसी भी तरीके का भेदभाव नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन विमेन परसेप्शन है वो कहता है कि women are being treated with inequality, there is discrimination. Men says that, or their perception is that women cannot perform the same responsibilities. Women perception is that they can do every responsibility, they can hold any responsibility, they can do any type of the job. So different perceptions are existing in the society, and the main task of this gender sensitization is just to give a special awareness sensitization training, so that these type of the stereotype things which are existing in the society, those may be overcome by these types of the sensitization programs. At the same time, we all have aware about the culture of silence. Women usually keep quiet out of fear, कई बार डर से शांत रहते हैं, to protect the family honor. कोई अगर किसी तरीके की वायलेंस हो रही है या किसी तरीके का भेदभाव हो रहा है, तो अपने फैमिली के ऑनर को बचाने के लिए, उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, दे विल कीप साइलेंट. फॉर द सेक ऑफ चिल्ड्रन, they will keep silent. Many women think it as normal and inevitable कि ये हम क्योंकि women है तो ये हमारे साथ हो सकता है, this is all normal. So it's a women's lot, and there is seemingly little she can do to escape her lot. So this is something which is there in the mind of the gender perception, in the mind of the women also to some extent, which is existing in the society and which is not allowing the women to to say something, to speak about those things which are there, which are discriminating her to enjoy all the rights which are there, which are discriminating her to do her functions similarly as the other counterpart is doing in the society. So because this is all the gender roles, those are given, or those are, I mean, allotted in the society already. We know all that. Gender role is the behaviors, the attitudes, or the beliefs that a particular cultural group considers appropriate for males and females on the basis of their biological sexes. So men have the greater body mass and strength and are better equipped for hunting, warfare, and land clearing. That is, कुछ ऐसे काम जिसमें ज्यादा शक्ति लगे, जिसमें ज्यादा मेहनत लगे, जिसमें ज्यादा ताकत की जरूरत हो, वही काम जो है वो मेन को दिए गए हैं. ये उनका जेंडर रोल है. Women to do the tasks like which are compatible with the pregnancy, breastfeeding, child care. Women should be a teacher, they could be a nursery teacher. Only men could be the excellent surgeons, they could be the excellent management or the managers. वो ऐसे काम कर सकते हैं, महिलाएं वो काम नहीं कर सकती. So this is the gender role which is there in the society. And gender stereotype is a product of a subjective perception. As I told you that there are different perceptions of the men and women, the perception that exists regarding the gender role, which is built with an aim of confirming a society in which women have lower status than men. So the consequence of these gender stereotypes are gender inequality and gender-based violence. जब भी समाज में इस तरीके का भेदभाव होगा, जब भी इस तरीके की इनइक्वालिटी होगी या समानता होगी, तो that will result into various things, जिसमें कि वायलेंस सबसे बड़ी चीज होती है कि किसी महिला के विरुद्ध में ऑफेंसेस हो, उसके अगेंस्ट में हिंसाएं हो, बायसनेस है, पक्षपात रूपी उसके साथ व्यवहार हो. So this is regarding the gender perception. Preference you see is found in some of the societies for sons rather than daughters. लड़कियां पैदा होंगी तो नहीं, अगर लड़का पैदा होगा तो ठीक है. मेल जेंडर वाइज है ये अपने आप में. Then female infanticide is resulting in, because of this male gender wise, the killing of the female children in the fetus only. Female feticides are there. Then regarding nutritional deprivation is another thing which is seen as a result of this gender inequality, rather I should say. This is a form of the child abuse involving withholding the food, बच्चे को खाना ही नहीं देना है, nutritional उसका privation कर लेना है, that can retard the learning. अगर इस तरीके से छोटी बच्चियों को खाना वाना नहीं दिया जाएगा, न्यूट्रिशंस नहीं दिए जाएंगे, तो क्या होगा, उनकी लर्निंग कैपेसिटी है उस पे इफेक्ट पड़ेगा. दैट मे हैव द इफेक्ट ऑन द फिजिकल डेवलपमेंट, that may have the effect on the social adjustment also. So this is because of what? This is because of the male gender bias, a preference that is for the son and not for the daughters. Then another type of the violences that may also occur because of this gender inequality, like honor killings. That is a practice whereby the women are put to death at the hands of their own family members. ये अपने ही परिवार के लोग उसकी हत्या करते हैं लड़की की, क्यों? Because they are thought to have dishonored the family by marrying the persons, by marrying a person who is basically belonging to some other caste, which is not within the caste of that girl who married that. तो परिवार वाले अपने परिवार की अपने सम्मान को बचाने के लिए सम्माननीय हत्या कर देते हैं. This is a violence. Then besides that, the physical violence and offenses against women are also the cause of this gender inequality, like rape, dowry deaths, torture, cruelty by the husbands or the relatives, molestation of the women, the importation of the girls for immoral traffic, sexual harassment. So बहुत सारे ऐसे violences हैं, बहुत सारी ऐसे offenses हैं जो आज भी prevalent हैं. So we have so many laws, everything is there. Still, these are the stereotype things which are still existing in the society. So regarding sexual harassment, we see that there should be a zero tolerance towards sexual harassment. Implies must have the safe channel to report sexual harassment without being exposed to the dismissal and all these things. Since 2013, we have the Act also, which is for the Sexual Harassment Prohibition Redressal Act, which is bound to have an internal complaint committee. Every organization is bound to have the internal complaint committee for complaining against the sexual harassment of the working women of the women at workplace. जो महिलाएं काम कर रही हैं किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, पब्लिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, उनके साथ अगर सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट से संबंधित कोई चीजें होती हैं, ये ऑफेंस होता है, तो एक इंटरनल कंप्लेंट कमेटी उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जरूरी है. 2013 में एक्ट आ गया था, उससे पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने गाइडलाइंस दी थी 1996 में विशाखा के केस में. तो इस तरीके से वर्किंग प्लेस पर अगर कोई सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट होता है तो इंटरनल कंप्लेंट कमेटी होनी ही चाहिए और वहां पर कंप्लेंट की जा सकती है. उस कंप्लेंट करने के बाद जो एक्ट में अपने प्रावधान किए गए हैं, कैसे इंक्वायरी होगी, कितना टाइम पीरियड में रेमेडी मिलेगी, सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर देयर. तो कितने लोग अवेयर हैं इसके बारे में, ये अपने आप में बहुत आवश्यक है. ये जो फिजिकल वायलेंस है या जो ऑफेंसेस हो रहे हैं महिलाओं के अगेंस्ट में, दिस इज ऑल मैटर to sensitize the person, to sensitize the women also, to sensitize the other gender also, so that everybody must be aware that these are the laws which are existing and they should not violate these laws. They should pay equal respect to all the genders which are there in the society. Besides that, there are the cases of the family, in family also regarding domestic violence, because you see that in the gender role which is given for the women, she has to face multiple burden. Family abandonment by the husband, financial abuse is there, household works are assigned to the women. So the main objective of this gender sensitizations are just to provide an integrated and interdisciplinary approach to understand the social and cultural construction of the genders, and that shapes the experience of women and men in the society. So to generate the awareness in regard to equality in law, equality in the social system, in equality in the democratic activities, this all is very important. And in education, we find it. low level of literacy among the women is there. Number of girl students is considerably lower than the number of boys students. अगर census को उठा के देखें 2011 जो latest है उसमें भी जो मेल फीमेल का रेशियो है, लिटरेसी का रेशियो है, एजुकेशनल स्टेटस का जो रेशियो है, you will find that the girl childs are always on the lower side than the other sides, that is the boy. So you see, even the girls who do enroll in schools, they may have other they may have the irregular attendance. Enrollment कर भी लिया है लेकिन उसके बाद भी उनकी attendance वहाँ पे नहीं हो पाती है. Their education may not be prioritized. जो उनकी प्राथमिकता है, that is not their education. This is because of the demands on them. There are various other demands. The girls, they have to perform other duties at their home. They have to perform the domestic works. Domestic chores are to be performed by the girls, not daughters, not by the son. So girls are more likely to repeat the years in one class, to drop out early and to fail in the subjects, and the girls are likely to be, they are less likely to complete their schoolings even. There is increase in the girls' child labor also. And starting from the school, there is gender gap in the higher education also. It is not like that this is there in the primary level or the secondary level. In higher education also, you see the percentage, there is very low percentage of women population that reach to the higher education. In engineering, in business, in medical, the proportion of the female students is much smaller. There are surveys also, there are various you see the indexes also which provides, जो बहुत सारे आंकड़े हैं गवर्नमेंट के, जो आंकड़े हैं प्राइवेट सर्वे के अनुसार, अगर हम कहीं भी देखें तो नंबर आपको दिखाई देगा, जो परसेंटेज है दैट इज वेरी वेरी लोअर. पर्टिकुलरली जो कुछ ऐसे प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज हैं वहाँ तो बहुत कम परसेंटेज है वुमेन कैंडिडेट्स की, उनकी पॉपुलेशन वहाँ ज्यादा नहीं है. So higher education के तरफ अगर देखा जाए, so due to various barriers we can say, or insecurity that the females are not reaching or sustaining in education. Barriers like poverty हो सकती है, गरीबी हो सकती है, social values and parental preferences. There may be inadequate school facilities also, inadequate toilet facilities also in the schools. बहुत से ऐसे सर्वे भी मैंने पढ़े जहाँ पर देखा गया कि जो स्कूल्स खुले हुए हैं छोटे छोटे, वहाँ कोई टॉयलेट फैसिलिटीज नहीं है, लड़कियां स्कूल जाती ही नहीं है इस वजह से. सो शॉर्टेज ऑफ फीमेल टीचर्स, वो अपनी बात नहीं कह सकती हैं, फीमेल टीचर्स नहीं है. फियर ऑफ सिक्योरिटी अगेंस्ट द वायलेंस, कि किस तरीके का वायलेंस उनके साथ हो सकता है घर से निकल के. वो पेरेंट्स भी बच्चियों को स्कूल नहीं भेज रहे हैं बहुत जगह पे, ये भी सर्वे के रिजल्ट्स हैं. We see that the percentage of the girls in the schools, in the higher education, in secondary, primary, every type of the education, you find that the percentage is always very very lower, and there are different reasons for which, or there are different barriers you see, which make them insecure, which make the female insecure to reach and to sustain there and to get the education properly. In some of the families, you see girls, they can't pursue higher education. Money should not be invested in girls' education, such as for the boys. Boys shouldn't do housework. They are very small things and the worthless jobs. छोटे मोटे काम हैं, ये लड़कों के लिए नहीं है. So these are the things, and the girls cannot inherit. उनको कुछ मिलेगा भी नहीं, and many other discriminations can be seen in the family. So we see that these are the things which are coming from the first unit, that is family. The discrimination, the inequality that perpetrates from the family itself. And as we all know that women in India suffer inequality, this is because of the lack of gender sensitization on the part of males. It is said that degradation of ethics and values amongst the youth is the root cause of such problems. Offenses against women, as I just told you, be it rape or sexual harassment, eve teasing, domestic violence, dowry death, infanticide, feticide, they are due to lack of gender sensitivity. The fact remains that whatever offenses are being committed, the socio-cultural environment coming from the society and family is responsible for this. The chauvinist attitude need to be rejected. If anyone is making comments that ridicule or demean or it is humiliating the women, so don't keep quiet if you hear such comments. कई बार अरे वो तो लड़की है ऐसा कर रही होगी, अरे इस तरीके की चीजें तो करती हैं महिलाएं, तो ये chauvinist attitude है, it has to be rejected. This is something that you all are here for, this gender sensitization program. It should not be confined only to get the certificate and then to use it as your API and for further promotion. It is something that this sensitization must come out from your own inner conscience, and then if you see that there is something like this, then you may be able to reject those things. क्योंकि इस तरीके की जो रिडिकुलस हैं, जो हास्यास्पद चीजें हैं, जो औरतों को ह्यूमिलिएट करने के जो कमेंट्स किए जाते हैं, कोई भी उसको सुनता है, should not keep quiet and such comments should be rejected. Talk to your colleagues, friends and family frankly and tell them to stop with this chauvinist attitudes. To overcome gender disparity and to sensitize the society, education can play a decisive role. So I see that education as a vital tool for bringing about the gender parity and simultaneously catalyzing the national development. If one is educated, one can also contribute towards the national development. So education is very important. So gender संवेदीकरण में अगर हम देखते हैं तो शिक्षा का, शिक्षक का एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान है। जो हमारी शिक्षा की प्रक्रिया है उसमें कई चीजें शामिल होती हैं, चाहे वो टीचर्स हों, स्टूडेंट्स हों, कॉलेज स्कूल्स हों, हमारा जो सिलेबस है, हमारी जो बुक्स हैं, हमारे क्लासरूम्स हैं, हमारा पूरा एक एनवायरनमेंट है. So all these makes a proper or unique contribution for making this education to be available to all the person concerned. सभी को के द्वारा समान व्यवहार किया जाए बच्चों के बीच में, लड़का है, लड़की है, बालक है, बालिका है, क्या है, इस तरीके का अगर अलग अलग व्यवहार होगा तो एजुकेशन का जो बेसिक पर्पस है that cannot be fulfilled, which speaks about the equality, and that is also violative of the laws which speaks about the equality. So basically the education is very essential for everyone, because it is only the education by which we can differentiate between the human beings and the animals. Human beings, so they are having their own mind, they have their own knowledge, which the animals don't have. So education tells that how can we live in a society. Education is essential for both male and female. Education is essential for females, whether they are girls or they are boys. So for them, education is there, and the female education is necessary because female play a very important role in the progress of the family, in the progress of the society, in the progress of the country. बहुत पुराना जो स्लोगन है कि जो अगर घर में माँ पड़ी हुई है, अगर घर में महिला पड़ी हुई है, उसके एक के पढ़ने से पूरा घर पढ़ेगा, लेकिन अगर एक आदमी पढ़ा हुआ है तो उसके पढ़ने से एक ही व्यक्ति पढ़ेगा. तो कुछ इस तरीके की चीजें हैं जिससे हम देखते हैं कि फीमेल एजुकेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. फीमेल एजुकेशन दैट प्लेज वेरी vital role in the reduction of poverty also, and that contributes to the growth, rather I should say sustainable growth in the developing nations like ours. तो जो सह शिक्षा वाले, जो को एजुकेशन वाले स्कूल्स हैं जहाँ पर देखते हैं कि बच्चे साथ बैठते हैं, लड़के लड़कियां, उनकी गतिविधियों पर नजर रखी जाती है. विद्यालय में जो शिक्षक हैं उनके द्वारा ऐसे प्रयास किए जाते हैं कि बालक बालिकाओं के साथ समान व्यवहार किया जाए. तो अगर इस तरीके के प्रयास हो रहे हैं, then we find that the girls, they will come to the schools, they will get the education, because as I told you that the entire environment of that school, which includes the teacher, student, classroom, syllabus, books and everything, that is having a great contribution. तो इस तरीके से जो को-एड वाले स्कूल्स हैं वहां पर भी बच्चों के साथ व्यवहार ठीक रखा जाए, समानता का व्यवहार रहे, then they can go ahead and they can help in sustainable growth of the nation also. So in a developing democracy like ours, the educated female, they are considered to be the bona fide source of not only the happiness in the family, society, in the country, but also for the development and progress of the nation as a whole. And female as the half of the population, they have a great impact on the development of the community. Half of the population माना जाता है कि आधी आबादी महिलाओं की है, लेकिन जैसा कि अभी मैंने कहा, जहाँ पर जेंडर मेल बायसनेस है, एंड फॉर दैट फेटिसाइड बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ रहा है, और कानून भी उसमें बने हुए हैं अगेंस्ट फेटिसाइड, अगेंस्ट सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन। उसके बाद भी जो विमेन और जो फीमेल फेटस है, दोज हैव बीन किल्ड इन द होम आल्सो। तो उसके साथ ही साथ अगर हम देखें तो जो हमारा रेशियो है मेल फीमेल का, that ratio in the population is also lower down. बहुत से ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ पे उसका रेशियो बहुत बड़ा है, 1000 के ऊपर 913 ही रह गए हैं। पंजाब की तरफ चले जाएं तो 800 तक में, हायर साइड ऑन 800 पहुंच गया है। कुछ स्टेट्स ऐसे भी हैं जहाँ पे बराबर भी है और 1000 से ऊपर भी है, केरला या कुछ ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं। So I just want to emphasize here that the female, which is said to be as half of the population, they have a great impact on the development of the community, and the figures of the enrollment of women in higher education are not satisfactory when compared to the enrollment of the men in the higher education. And the main hindrances in the women education in India is rural background, the low economic standing, the traditional attitudes may be the reason towards women education. They all works as the hindrances, they all works as the obstacles. सब एक restriction, एक प्रतिबंध, एक रुकाव की तरीके से काम करते हैं, जिससे कि महिलाओं का जो हायर एजुकेशन में एक registration है, enrollment है, वो बहुत उसकी परसेंटेज उतनी नहीं है जितना कि काउंटर पार्ट्स की है. So the constraints faced by the girls, they forced to drop out the educational institute. The social norms and the gender roles also affect the ability of the girls to remain in the schools, and the situation is same in the higher education. As I told you, women are continuously facing many problems. Though they have self-confidence, they have their own individuality, they have the self-respect, and they have developed their own personality, they have the capacity, they have the talent, they have the efficiency more than men even. In some cases, you find that they are more efficient also. They are facing problems in their daily lives, even after they are given the equal rights and opportunities like men. By the Constitution of India, because I belong to the legal field, so I would prefer to say something about the Constitution of India also, that is the supreme law of the land. And under this Constitution, the very preamble जो उसकी उद्देशिका है, जो पहली उसकी घोषणा है, वही कहती है, डिग्निटी की बात करती है, वो समानता की बात करती है, वो न्याय की बात करती है, वो स्वतंत्रता की बात करती है, और वो सबके लिए. There is no discrimination, there is no distinction between the genders, that is available to all, everyone. And this dignity is to be available to everyone, equality is to be made available to everyone. उसके बाद अगर हम फंडामेंटल राइट्स की बात करें, तो जो मौलिक अधिकार हैं, those rights are also available to all the citizens and the person concerned. उसमें भी हम इक्वालिटी की बात करते हैं, उसमें भी हम तरह तरह के राइट्स की बात करते हैं. बोलने का अधिकार है हमें, घूमने का, जाने का, स्वतंत्रता का हमें सारे अधिकार हैं, हमें किसी भी तरीके का बिजनेस का अधिकार है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट से संबंधित अधिकार है, जिसमें किसी भी तरीके का भेदभाव नहीं किया जाएगा ऑन द बेसिस अदर देन सेक्स ऑल्सो. में रेस, कास्ट, क्रीड, रिलीजन एंड सेक्स ऑल्सो, तो किसी तरीके से भेदभाव नहीं किया जाएगा। तो फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर देयर, फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज भी है एवरी सिटीजन की, दैट टू मेंटेन द डिग्निटी ऑफ द वुमेन। एंड बिसाइड्स दैट देयर आर डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ द स्टेट पॉलिसी, कुछ राज्य के नीति निर्देशक तत्व हैं जिसके आधार पर ये कहा जाता है कि जो भी कानून सरकार बनाएगी, सरकार जहां होगी वो जब भी कानून बनाएगी तो इन नीति निर्देशक तत्वों को दिमाग में रखते हुए अपने कानून बनाएगी। और उसमें भी एक सोशल जस्टिस की बात कही गई है, जेंडर को लेके किस तरीके से कानून बनाए जाएंगे, मैटरनिटी रिलीफ के लिए कानून बनाए जाएंगे, या बच्चों के लिए जो गर्ल्स हैं, बॉयज हैं, उनके न्यूट्रिशन के लिए, उनके हेल्थ के लिए, उनके हाइजीन के लिए किस तरीके से काम किए जाएंगे। सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर अवेलेबल इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, that also speaks about the privacy rights, that also speaks about the right to education, that speaks about the right to justice and equality, that speaks about right to employment। तो एक तरीके से कहा जाए कि पूरा एक स्ट्रक्चर है, और जिस स्ट्रक्चर के आधार पे बहुत से कानून बने हुए हैं। राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट इज देयर, राइट टू जस्टिस इज देयर, मैटरनिटी रिलीफ इज देयर, सेक्स डिटर्मिनेशन के अगेंस्ट में कानून बने हुए हैं, इंडियन पेनल कोड है जिसमें कि बहुत सारे जो वायलेंसेस हैं, ऑफेंसेस अगेंस्ट वुमेन हैं, उनके लिए कानून बने हैं। सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट एट वर्क प्लेस, जैसा मैंने बताया 2013 से वो भी कानून बना हुआ है। तो सारी चीजें हैं, सारी चीजें हैं, बट देयर आर प्रॉब्लम्स which are available, which we find existing in the society. For example, relating to health and nutrition, lack of information on the family planning, the rules are there. Not only in Indian concept, if we see the law is there, but internationally also, India is also a signatory. CEDAW is there. That is a convention of the all types of discrimination against women, कि अगर women के अगेंस्ट में कोई भी भेदभाव किया जा रहा है तो उसके विरुद्ध में क्या कन्वेंशंस हैं और उसके क्या प्रावधान दिए गए हैं। तो उसमें भी ये सारी चीजें बताई गई हैं, जिसमें कि हम देखते हैं आज भी प्रचलित हैं वो चीजें कि women को they are not informed properly about the family planning, their right to for reproduction choices, कि कब बच्चा पैदा करना है, कब नहीं, what are the other methods which they have to adopt, low level of the men participation in the health concerns for the women. Women are not having the proper health facilities also. Women are also prone to the infectious diseases. ये सब क्यों? क्योंकि nutrition proper नहीं मिल रहा है, lack of social services are also there, nutrition level of the in the women that is very very low, and responsibility of the birth control lies on the women only. So this problem is relating to the health and nutrition, which is also requiring a sensitization, a gender sensitization, that both are equal in the society. So both should understood their role in the society, not as it is stereotype, but as it is the demand of the particular time, that the equality should be the basis. And then there are certain socio-cultural problems also, lack of special emotional and academic support of both at the personal and institutional levels for students from marginalized groups. Particularly you see women are used as the commodity, commodification of the women is there, prostitution is there, women's, they are considered only as the sex objects, or you see there is something like double standard morality. मॉरलिटी तो है, उसका भी अपना डबल स्टैंडर्ड है, अपने घर के जो फीमेल है उनके लिए कुछ और स्टैंडर्ड है, घर से बाहर जो है उनके लिए कुछ और स्टैंडर्ड है। सो दिस आर स्टीरियोटाइप थिंग्स दैट इज अवेलेबल इन द मीडिया, दैट इज अवेलेबल इन द एजुकेशन सिस्टम आल्सो, and various types of the things are there. The social life of the women seem to be very very poor. They are viewed as the weaker sex, they are viewed as the second sex, they are viewed as the fair sex in the society, because of their poor education, because of the cultural subjugation, and because of so many harassments, abuses, violence, which are prevalent in the society. This is all we find. And you see that the boys are made to believe that they are inherently superior to the females. Most boys and girls attend the schools, they are loaded with the mental baggage that they are superior to the females, they are superior to the girls. So there was one survey that highlighted the fact that कुछ बच्चे थे, कुछ लड़के थे स्कूल में, स्मॉल बॉयज, यंग बॉयज, उनसे पूछा गया कि खाने की टेबल पे बैठे हैं, अगर खाना थोड़ा कम पड़ता है तो सबसे पहले खाना अपना कौन छोड़कर आपको देगा. So mostly they replied that the mother is the first choice, followed by the sister. So who is responsible for a male holding this view? That the first person to sacrifice the meal should be the mother, and that is to be followed by the sister as the second choice. Why male members are served the meal first in many of the homes, and the female members forced to eat the what is left there. So these are some points which need to be emphasized at home, which need to be emphasized at school also. If these things are not being taught at home, and if the girls and the boys, if they are allowed in the school, so instead of teaching these different things, what was there in the history, what was there in the geography, these type of the things are also to be the part of the syllabus, so that they may understand their role in the society, not in the stereotypic manner, but as per the requirement of the time. And we see that the awakening among the Indian women has been considerably changed during the recent past. I'm not saying that what was there earlier, presently also the same things are here, but there are changes, and we can say that considerable changes have been made in the last few decades. But despite all obstacles and many difficulties, women education is advancing steadily. They are making their influence felt in the international affairs, in the national affairs, but the number is very insignificant. The number is very low. You can just count them on your tips. उंगलियों पे गिन लीजिए इतने हैं, लेकिन जो भी हैं वो अपनी presence को identify कर. So indeed, it's a good thing. It's quite obvious that women's education must catch up the men's education as rapidly as possible, and that great gap between the two, that must be bridged for this at the higher education level, starting from the lower education level. And the need is to make the campuses particularly gender sensitive and gender friendly. जो लैंगिक असमानता की चुनौती है ना विद्यालय में, वो जो साथी हैं, जो शिक्षक हैं, जो सिलेबस है, जो बुक्स हैं, उन सबकी बहुत बड़ी एक रोल है. उसमें एक पॉजिटिव जो धारणा है वो अपने आप में बहुत आवश्यक है. और इसके लिए जो वाइडर जो एजेंडाज हैं, जो मुद्दे हैं, उस पर इसका क्या प्रभाव होगा, जो वायलेंसेस हो रही हैं जो अगेंस्ट वुमेन, और इस तरीके के जो सेक्सुअल वायलेंसेस हैं, उसका किस तरीके से पहचान की जाए, उसको कैसे जाना जाए, घर पर हो या घर के बाहर हो, दूसरी जगह पे हो, उसको कैसे सुरक्षित किया जाए. बिकॉज इनसिक्योरिटी इज ऑल्सो seen when the girls, they don't go to the school, or they are not being sent by their parents to the school. So all these are the challenges which are required to be followed by all of us, and get some help and support if you know a friend or your acquaintance is suffering from the domestic violence or other abuses. क्योंकि घर में भी अगर इस तरीके के violences होंगे, घर का माहौल नहीं रहेगा, बच्चे पढ़ने जाएंगे ही नहीं, अगर पढ़ने भी जाएंगे तो वहां पर भी उसी तरीके के violence वो create करेंगे. So this type of violence is not restricted only to the physical aggression, but verbal attacks, curses and threats, and psychological abuses, controlling or manipulating and intimidating behavior, that also affects women, that also affects other things also. जरूरी नहीं है कि हाथ पैर से ही मारपीट हो वही हिंसा है, फिजिकली ही हो वही हिंसा है, बल्कि इमोशनली भी अगर आप किसी को टॉर्चर करते हैं, दैट इज ऑल्सो ए पार्ट ऑफ द वायलेंस. वर्बली आप इस तरीके से अगर बोलते हैं, वो भी वायलेंस है. और ये डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस अगर घर के अंदर हो रहा है, then that will make impact on the children, and they will perform those things when they are going to the schools. So in that way the girl childs, they just are not being sent, उनको नहीं भेजा जाता है, इस तरीके की चीजें सीख के आती हैं, उनको अपनी सुरक्षा नहीं वहाँ पे प्राप्त होती है. So this is for gender sensitization is required. So we see that the need is for the gender women empowerment through education is very important. The need is just to promote the gender equality. जो gender equality है उसको promote करने की जरूरत है. The need is just to instill the respect for heterogeneous society. We all know that we are living in the heterogeneous society with gender 1, gender 2, and gender 3. So respect is to be there among all the genders. That is required, and the need is just to uphold the gender safety, gender security in general, and particularly in educational institutions and in campuses, so that the education should come to contribute towards the gender sensitization. There is a need to believe in self as women. और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि महिलाओं को भी अपने आप को ये जरूरत है कि वो जाने और माने और अपने आप में विश्वास रखें, जैसे अपने सेल्फ में, that no matter I'm a woman but I can do this. So belief in self as women, that is also very important through enabling strategies, women-centric opportunities, and empowerment as women. That is important. There is a need to provide facilities and offer the opportunities to women for education with equality, safety, and security. There is a need to make campuses gender accessible by removing obstacles. वो सड़क में मजनू चलते हैं तो घर वालों ने देख लिया, पेरेंट्स ने देख लिया, भाई ने देख लिया, अच्छा वो लड़की मेरी बेटी जा रही थी, वो तो लड़के पीछे पड़े थे, नहीं कल से कॉलेज नहीं जाओगे. So this is very important, that if you need that, there must be a secured access to the higher education. If there is a secured access to the educational institutions, then you need to provide a safe and secured access to the educational institutions, and the campus should be gender accessible by removing all these types of the obstacles which are being faced by the women or by the girls. There is a need to create awareness about gender discrimination and the sexual harassment also, that what are the things which will be the part or which will be under the definition of the sexual harassment. ऐसी क्या चीजें होंगी, showing pornography or giving certain remarks जो अपने आप में गलत हैं या जो अश्लील हैं, जो sexual remarks हैं, कुछ photos दिखाना गलत तरीके से, अपने काम के लिए कि preference दिया जाएगा तो मेरे लिए ये काम कर. So these are some of the things which are required to be made aware to this in the educational system, and to say that what is gender discrimination and what is sexual harassment. There is a need for this awareness also. There is a need to build up the responsible women leaders also for the future. A change in the perception is also the need of the hour. ऐसा जैसा मैंने बताया कि perception है, मेल का perception कुछ और है, फीमेल का perception कुछ और है. When we are living in the same society, then why these two perceptions are there? The perception should be the same. If there is a family, in a family everything is equal, then why there are two perceptions? So there is a need to change that perception also. And there is a need that requires the orientation for the changing of these perceptions. Changing in the policy makers perception, changing in the curriculum developers perception, changing in the media professionals perception, changing in the adult learners perception, and public at large. हर किसी के perception में एक change की जरूरत है, and that is the part, that is the role of the gender sensitization. कि किस तरीके से किससे हम मिलते हैं, किसको हम अपनी चीजों को बताते हैं, कहाँ जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है, उसको क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए. So this is all the part of that. And for this, we need to develop certain strategies also. We need to initiate these type of the programs to open up the communications between the sexes. आप लोग सभी टीचर्स हैं, जब आप क्लास में जाते होंगे को एजुकेशन है हायर लेवल पे, हायर एजुकेशन में इतने साल से मैं देखती हूँ, कुछ ऐसे अपने आप ही लाइनें ऐसी बन जाती हैं, इधर लड़कियां बैठ गई हैं, इधर लड़के बैठ गए हैं, कहीं कहीं मिक्स है। Otherwise, they make themselves or they differentiate themselves. So to bring the mutual understanding and respect of each other's rights and roles, that is the duty of the teacher. So the focus is to be on the self in a social context, कि हमारा भी कोई अपना स्वय है, अपना self है, to make them aware by clarifying the issues of the gender disparities, to motivate the women and to reorient their thinking. क्योंकि जरूरी नहीं है, हम कहते हैं ना, जो दहेज के केसेस होते हैं, जो दहेज हत्याएं होती हैं, महिलाएं ही महिलाओं के दुश्मन है, इस तरीके की चीजें. सो देयर इज अ नीड फॉर reorientation of the thinking of the women also, to motivate them to rethink that these are the things which are existing, which brings the disparities in the society. Now the time has come that there must be equality. It is not like that there is a marriage and the girl's family, they have to give you something like dowry prohibition act is there since 1961. 1961 से एक्ट बना हुआ है, डाउरी लेना और देना दोनों अपराध है. उसके बावजूद कितनी दहेज हत्याएं होती है, कितना दहेज दिया जाता है. इट्स ए क्राइम आल्सो अंडर द इंडियन पिनल कोड. दहेज हत्या के लिए कि शादी के 7 साल के अंदर अगर कोई भी हत्या हो रही है किसी महिला की, तो वो दहेज हत्या का उस पर एक केस किया जा सकता है. देयर आर सर्टेन एविडेंसेस, circumstantial evidences. So the point here is that to help them to understand the systematic barriers which are being faced by all, that is the important task that has to be taken as a strategy for the gender sensitization. And our education system has to be gender sensitive and gender friendly. For this, we have to spread the gender awareness in the society, to diminish or to reduce the gender inequality. The first unit where from we have to start the gender awareness is the family members, the parents, the siblings, the guardians. We have to come out of the syndrome that we need a brilliant baby boy and a beautiful baby girl. कि जो लड़का होगा वो तो ब्रिलियंट होना चाहिए, लेकिन जो लड़की है वो बहुत खूबसूरत होनी चाहिए. तो ये जो सिंड्रोम है, इससे थोड़ा बाहर निकलकर सोचना है. तो अगर हमें इस पर काम करना है, जेंडर अवेयरनेस, जेंडर फ्रेंडली माहौल बनाने के लिए, तो जो पहली यूनिट है हमारा अपना घर, जो हमारे फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं, वहां से ही हमें इसमें शुरू होना होगा. And a change of perception at the level of families and community, then teachers, policymakers, that is required for that. Then training in the family to men and women that they should respect each other in the family. The mothers should also be trained so that they should not only teach their daughter to cook or to do household works or to serve the husbands and the in-laws, but also to their sons to do the same thing. जरूरी नहीं है कि केवल लड़कियां ही उस काम को करें, जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि कुछ जेंडर रोल्स हैं जो दिए गए हैं. So we have to break those things, and this can be done through this gender sensitization. Both the girls and boys, they should be allowed to go to the schools. And this is all we need to do. And in campuses, in the schools, the teachers, they should make mixed groups for the co-curricular activities along with a mixed sitting plan in the classrooms to bring the gender equality. And they need to sensitize them by creating a campus where women and girls feel free and they feel safe, they feel valued. They should not be humiliated there. They should not be demeaned there in the campuses. So this is the duty of the teachers also in the campus, because education that plays an important role in nation building, that also plays a critical role in making the society and campus safer for women and for the girls. And this can be done by making gender sensitization as a part of the syllabus or curriculum. formulation and institution of a gender responsive pedagogy to address the problems that negatively impact on the teaching and learning process. Gender neutral language should be promoted at all levels, like instead of he or she, the words which are to be used like everyone or everybody can be used. Classroom interactions and teaching methodology should be gender receptive. जब हम देखते हैं ना पाठ्य पुस्तकों में कि विकास के दौरान कितनी ही सावधानी क्यों न बरतें, लेकिन महिलाओं का जो योगदान है उसकी चर्चा हम शामिल करते हैं, और अगर कर भी लेते हैं थोड़ा बहुत, तो जो शिक्षकों का जो एक भाषाई व्यवहार होता है उसमें जेंडर पूरी तरीके से पूर्वाग्रह की तरीके से काम करता है कि लड़कियों की तरह सिर झुकाए खड़े हो, लड़कियों की तरह शर्मा रहे हो. So it means that that the girls are to be there कि लड़कियों की तरह सिर झुकाए खड़े हो, है ना. वो झांसी की रानी थी, बहुत लड़ी मर्दानी, वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. तो हम उसको कह रहे हैं ना, मर्दानी तो हमने कह दिया, लेकिन हम ये नहीं कह सके कि बहुत खूब लड़ी जनानी, वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. So these type of the stereotype gender roles which are there, जो एक पूर्वाग्रह से जुड़े हुए हैं, उसमें निहित है ये सब चीजें. जब तक इन चीजों को हम दूर नहीं कर पाएंगे, जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन कंप्लीट नहीं हो सकता है. एंड the basic purpose of this is just to personality development, capacity building programs by all empowered women can serve as a role model for the girls also. And the education has to be translated to increase their income, types of opportunities, leadership positions and decision making powers. आज के हिंदुस्तान में हम जानते हैं कि डेमोक्रेसी है, वी आर ए डेमोक्रेटिक नेशन, लेकिन हर संस्था में, डेमोक्रेसी में हमारे स्टेट की जो ये हमारे विंग्स हैं, चाहे वो एग्जीक्यूटिव हो, लेजिस्लेचर हो, जुडिशियरी हो, कहाँ पर महिलाओं का कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है, कितनी उनको जगह मिली हुई, एवरीबडी इज अवेयर अबाउट दैट. सो द नीड इज टू गिव मोर एंड मोर प्लेसेस and the opportunities so that they may reach and they may show their work and their intelligence here. And for that we need to help the women to gain the power, female heads of the state and in the government, in the judiciary. You see average of the women in the legislative bodies. अभी कुछ states में चुनाव चल रहे हैं, जो tickets मिल रहे हैं, you just see the percentage of the tickets कि कितने पुरुष हैं उसमें और कितनी महिलाएं हैं. ये आज का नहीं है, हम तो 70, 72, 73 साल हो गए हमारी आजादी को. उसके उस समय से अगर हम देखें 1947 से 75th ईयर, तो कितना मिल रहा है आर्ट्स में, साइंस में, स्पोर्ट्स में और बहुत सारे फील्ड्स हैं. So where the women are gaining the power, this is our duty to help them to go forward, to make their contribution in all these fields and to have the power, have to show their caliber. And then we should not reflect only on the things. है ना, कई चीजें होती हैं, we all reproduce these stereotypes and pre-existing notions जो हमारे पूर्वाग्रह हैं on many of the topics including gender. So try to pay attention to your assumptions and know that none of us is immune of making these type of the comments or holding biased attitudes. But when someone points out something problematic in speech, then listen and reflect on that कि अगर कहीं कुछ गलत हो रहा है तो उसको आपको ठीक करना है. आपको ये नहीं सोचना है, आपको ये नहीं देखना है कि हम क्यों करें, अकेले हमारे करने से क्या होगा, अकेले हमारे करने से ही होगा, एकला चलो रे, वहीं से चीजें आगे बढ़ेंगी. और जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम का पर्पस भी यही है अपने आप में कि जो लिंग में असमानता है, लड़कियों और लड़कों के बीच में जो भेदभाव जैसे जैसे बढ़ते जाते हैं, आप देखिए इसका असर उनके बचपन में ही दिखाई देने लगता है. और बल्कि वो बचपन तक सीमित नहीं रहता है, बल्कि एडल्टहुड तक आते आते और वाइडर कंसेप्ट इसका हो जाता है. और इसकी वजह से जो हमारे वर्क प्लेसेस हैं वहाँ पर जो women हैं उनका वर्किंग रेशियो, उनका एम्प्लॉयमेंट रेशियो, दैट इज आल्सो वेरी नेग्लिजिबल इन नंबर. So the way that how to hire these women in the workplace, this is also the part of gender sensitization. and it has been experienced that gender-based discriminations exist in all walks of life and every part of the society, including everyday interactions in the workplace or public spaces. So introducing gender sensitization and legal awareness programs at a school level would facilitate, I think, inculcating values of equality, inclusivity, and diversity, which are essential to build a healthy society among the adolescents, boys and girls. Moreover, knowledge of the laws relating to women and gender sensitization is very important and essential also for making a balanced development of the young minds. And it will also help the students in building the correct values. They would become self-disciplined for the nation. I think so. And as a society, we need to encourage the thought and debate on this vital issue on gender sensitization. A society can only be progressive if we recognize that it comprises of both male and female members of equal value. And this is not an issue of the as to who plays what role, कि महिला को क्या करना है या पुरुष को क्या करना है. Roles can have equal relevance, and all our decisions and actions that influence our lives must be in the backdrop of this gender equality. Both the family and the schools play an important part in the child's development. Therefore, both need to come together and discuss the ways how to ensure that gender parity is in not only in thought but in action also is practiced at home and at school. किस तरीके से स्कूल में और घर में हम इसको प्रैक्टिस में ले आए जेंडर पैरिटी को. And schools can play important role in setting up the guidelines, and they can advise the parents on the gender sensitization. The schools can also advise on the various aspects of parenting, especially in the context of gender equality. So the main issue of gender sensitizations are such as the problem of sexual harassment, sexual stereotyping, complexities like caste, the minority experiences on sexuality. We can say the lack of spatial, emotional, and academic support of both at a personal and institutional level for the girls student in general and from marginalized group in particular. Therefore, gender sensitization is a must in our society. And this gender sensitization can induce the restructuring of gender roles based on the efficiency, and gender sensitization, we can say, help in realizing higher productivity of men and women in household and in outside work through rational use and effective use of the resources, which is including the available time also. So if we allow them to work equally, then we can see that that can make the effective use of the existing resources also. The resources would not be waste, है ना. तो जो जेंडर में जो एक भेदभाव जो एक निर्मित है, उसे एक मानव बदल सकता है, एक मनुष्य उसको बदल सकता है. और उस भेद के कारण जो महिलाओं पे जो हिंसा बढ़ती जा रही है, एक कहावत है ना, नर और नारी एक ही गाड़ी के दो पहिए हैं, वो एक समान होते हैं, एक के अभाव में दूसरा, एक के अभाव में पूरे समाज की कल्पना नहीं की जा सकती है. और समाज तभी विकास करेगा जब दोनों समान रूप से शिक्षित हों. और इस तरीके की जो चीजें हैं कि बहुत सारे जो चीजें चल रही हैं, लेकिन हम उसको ठीक तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, या हम उसको ठीक तरीके से सोच नहीं पा रहे हैं. हमारा भारतीय संविधान जो है वो उसके अंतर्गत धर्म, जाति, वर्ग, लिंग के आधार पर सबको समानता दे रहा है, बहुत सारे अधिकारों का प्रावधान किया है. स्वतंत्र भारत में हम देख रहे हैं समाज के साथ में महिलाओं की स्थिति में बदलाव भी आया है. ऐसा नहीं है जो स्थिति थी वो नहीं है. साक्षरता दर में भी थोड़ी वृद्धि हुई है, आत्मनिर्भरता भी उनकी बढ़ी है. हर कार्य क्षेत्र में आप देखिए महिलाएं जो भी उनको जगह मिल रही है वो आगे आ रही हैं, वो अपने आप को साबित कर रही हैं, वो उन बुलंदियों तक भी पहुंच रही हैं. लेकिन हम देखते हैं कि जो किताबों में जो असमानता दूर करने के कई अवसर जो प्राप्त हो सकते थे, उसमें टीचर्स का जो है दैट इज द इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल। टीचर हैज टू से दैट हाउ टू टीच, हाउ टू टॉट, किस तरीके से पढ़ाना है, किस तरीके से सिखाना है, हाउ टू मेक देम लर्न। इस चीजों पर, इन मुद्दों पर, बहुत ही संवेदनशील मुद्दे हैं, इस पर ध्यान देना बहुत आवश्यक है। और क्लास में किस तरीके से संबोधित करें दूसरों के साथ, कोई पक्षपात ना हो, ये अपने आप में जरूरी है। बहुत से कानून बने हुए हैं, बहुत सारी पॉलिसीज हैं, प्रोग्राम्स हैं, चाहे वो प्रधानमंत्री की बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ अभियान हो, बहुत से अलग अलग स्टेट्स ने भी इसमें अपने बहुत सी पॉलिसीज निकाली हैं। सैनिटरी नैपकिन डिस्पेंसर मशीन है, कुछ स्टेट्स ने उस पर काम किया, राजस्थान में जैसे जो महिला वो हैं वर्कर्स हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, उनके लिए भी अलग से पोर्टल की शुभारंभ किए हैं। कन्या सुरक्षा के लिए काम है, विधवा पुनर्विवाह के लिए काम किए गए हैं, सुकन्या समृद्धि योजना पर भी काम हुए हैं, या इस तरीके से सभी स्कूल चलो, उज्ज्वला योजना, दहेज का मैंने आपको बात ही की थी, बालकों बच्चियों के लिए आयोग भी बने हुए हैं। So there are various things which are in line, but the point is that still there are many things to do, and it is never too late to change for the better, and change has to be at home first. So we need to collectively ensure that our younger generation is given an equal opportunity in all the matters, and only then we can see that the purpose of these types of the short-term courses could be successful if we इसको हम कहते हैं ना कि अपने आप में हम आत्मसात करके और हम इन चीजों को समझ जाएं कि हमें क्या करना है, एक से बढ़कर आगे इस तरीके से जब ब्रांचेस निकलेंगी, हर कोई आके आके इस चीजों को बढ़ाएगा, then we can see that the day may come when there would be no disparity, and these roles which have already been said to be allotted culturally and socially, that would also end, or that will not be seen in the near future. And for that, everyone or each one of us has to work, and we have to sensitize everyone for that. And with these words, I am thankful to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam Professor Nilma Gupta ji, the organizer, Professor Bedre, the director of the HRDC, and the program coordinator, I think, Professor Dr. Prajapati ji, and the participants for the patience listening to my words. I'm thankful that the university has allowed me to share my thoughts in this short-term course. I would be happy if there would be any question on what I have spoken or otherwise also. So with these words, thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this brainstorming session. Now the section is open for clarification. If any query, you may ask.